thank you, General, for being here, and congratulations on your nomination. It's always nice to see a graduate of Webster University in St. Louis up before the committee. So congratulations on that as well. Let me come back to something you said at the very beginning of your testimony during your statement at the beginning. You said that China is a pacing threat. A pacing threat. I just want to be clear. Are there other pacing threats, and what would they be?
Now, China is the most significant competitor that we're focused on. It is the pacing threat.
On that, thank you for that. That's a helpful clarification. On that same point, you're going to have the opportunity here to oversee the next national defense strategy. You have said, and other committee members have quoted this today, you've talked about the competition, the strategic competition with China and Russia. You've also said today, though, several times, including to me just now, that you think that China is the pacing threat, that China is the top priority. So can you commit to us that as you oversee the next NDS, that China will be unequivocally identified as the top challenge, threat, competitor of the United States?
Clearly, the strategy will be arrayed against the threat, and China presents the most significant threat going forward because China is ascending. Russia is also a threat, but it's in decline. It can still do a great deal of damage as we've seen here in recent days in an area, and it's a country that we have to maintain some degree of focus on. But China is the pacing threat.
Very good. And you would expect, just to press my point here, but you would expect to see that identified, China that is identified as the pacing threat in the next national defense strategy. In other words, you don't see any reason why that would not be the case. Is that correct?
That follows. That makes sense, Senator Hawley. I think, but again, I certainly don't want to try to write the strategy here. We want to make sure we go through the process of arraying the threats and identifying what capabilities we're going to place against them. But it certainly follows. It is the pacing issue, the pacing threat currently, and I fully expect that it will remain so going forward.
Good. Well, I'm pressing you on it only because I think there has been some confusion with the last national defense strategy, the way it has been interpreted in some quarters to put China and Russia on a plane. And what you just said just a second ago, I think is very encouraging, that China is the pacing threat. Russia, of course, is a threat. There's no doubt about that. But to use your words, it is in decline. And of course, we have limited resources and capacities, and we're going to have to make sure that those limited resources and capacities are deployed corresponding to the relevant threat. So I'm encouraged by what you said. I'm going to hold you to that. Let me shift to Taiwan, which is obviously closely related. Let me follow up on something Senator Scott asked you about. Under the Taiwan Relations Act, the United States has committed to maintaining the capacity to resist any resort to force or other forms of coercion that would jeopardize the security of the people of Taiwan. Given our obligations under that statute, General, do you agree that DOD should maintain the ability to deter a Chinese fait accompli when it comes to Taiwan?
Senator, you came in broken on that last piece there. If I could ask you to repeat the end of that, please.
Yeah, when it comes to Taiwan, General, do you agree that the Department of Defense should clearly prioritize defeating a fait accompli scenario in Taiwan on the part of China, an attempt to invade, exert pressure that would put us in a fait accompli scenario? Should that be our top priority?
Well, certainly, I don't want to go down a road of getting into hypotheticals about, what we would do if certain things happen. I would just say that my job as the Secretary of Defense, if confirmed, is to present credible options to the President to ensure that we can protect our interests and defend ourselves. And, one of our interests is to make sure that Taiwan, and a commitment is to make sure that Taiwan has the ability to defend itself. And so we'll stay committed to that going forward.
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate the fact that you can't anticipate all threats going forward. However, we do have to plan, and to go back to points you've made about husbanding our scarce resources, making sure that we're using them well. We've got to identify the scenarios that we're prioritizing to plan for. And so I just want to ask one more time with regard to the fait accompli scenario in Taiwan, which is identified, of course, in the 2018 National Defense Strategy. Is that a scenario you think we ought to prioritize in our planning purposes in order to deter China?
Again, you know, we're committed. We've been committed to the support of Taiwan throughout, and again, it's been bipartisan support. We will remain committed to supporting Taiwan, and so we'll have the right options available to protect our interests and to defend ourselves.
Let me shift to Afghanistan here briefly, General, in the time I've got remaining. If the Taliban violates its part of the peace agreement, there's going to be significant pressure on the president-elect to send thousands of troops back into Afghanistan and perpetuate the cycle that we have seen there. How do you think we should respond if the Taliban violates our peace agreement so that we can achieve our counterterrorism objectives without increasing the number of troops that we have there in the region?
Senator, you know that we are currently operating as a part of a coalition effort there in Afghanistan. And what I've heard General Milley and General Miller say publicly is that they believe they have adequate resources to accomplish the objectives that they're assigned currently. And so if I'm confirmed as I go in, I'd like to be able to assess the situation myself and then make my recommendations to the president in terms of, you know, what's required and what's not required.
I see my time's expired. Thank you again, General. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.